Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. It's Aman. I walk around Tokyo and talk about my journey of entrepreneurship, documenting my journey basically. So I've been in Japan for like a year now, and I wanted to make a video about what a lot of people are interested in going to Japan, and I wanted to make a video about what to expect when you get here. In a sense, like things that I would tell people who want to be here. And I'm not going to talk about how to get here, which is the visa stuff, and like, you know, that's not my expertise. I'm not a visa person. But let's say you did get a visa, and even actually before you get a visa, like just deciding to come to Japan, I think I have some thoughts, because even though I've only been here a year and I've barely scratched the surface of any country, like you can never know enough. But I feel like I've talked to enough foreigners, or I've seen enough foreigners and I've seen enough patterns of like what kind of people usually end up here and how they fare ultimately in Japan, right? So I'm actually gonna play with this angle. So I actually did something to my tripod so I have more mobility with the camera. So anyway, looks like this one is gonna be a good whatever. Let's move on. So I've seen enough foreigners and case studies to see the patterns of where people fall into and what they struggle with. Now, the key, if you have to take one thing away from this video, I would say be open to mingling with other foreigners in Japan when you get here. Like plan to. So that's the key takeaway at the end of the video. Like I've already given it to you, but here's why. And let me go into detail, right? This is actually take 2 of this video. The first video I said some racist shit. I mean, it sounded racist in hindsight, so I'm going to do it one more time, right? Sorry about the noise. So there's basically 3 types of people, how I'll classify people who are here in Japan, foreigners. One is people who had no interest in Japan, and they just had to do certain things, like maybe you came for a PhD and you had to come to Japan, or you came for a job, your company moved you, or something like. Basically you just have to be in Japan, right? You didn't want to be here necessarily, but you have to be here, right, for a while. And people in that category they often have it the worst, because you know, you might fall in love with Japan after coming here, that's one thing, but usually if you didn't plan to come to Japan, then you probably don't speak the language, you're not interested in learning the language, you're not interested in the culture that much as such, or the food, you know, you don't have any Japan oriented hobbies or whatever. So for you it's an even bigger shock than somebody who is interested in that stuff, right? And you end up not only in a foreign land, which is really foreign, because Japan can be really weird in many ways. The social rules, the customs, people everywhere are the same, but in every country you have certain flavors which you might like or might not like. Right? And Japan definitely has a flavor, especially if you're a woman and you're working here in Japan. Like it can be a little, it can be different. Let's just put it that way, right? And if that's your case, you're probably not watching this video. So but even if that was the case, like I would still give you the same advice, like mingle with foreigners, right? The second category of people is naturally people who do have an interest in Japan, right? You always want to come here. You are very curious about Japan and about the culture and, language, whatever. Maybe you've taken language classes. Maybe you're here to learn Japanese in a language school. And in this category, I'll make one further subdivision before I address the category as a whole. And that subdivision is of people who not only like Japan for some reason, but they also hate their own country or wherever they came from. I'm not talking about asylum seekers, right? And by the way, if you're an asylum seeker, historical, like based on the news, Japan hasn't been very good to refugees. So I would, of course, it doesn't matter if you're probably not watching this video, but if somebody was, it's not a good country for asylum seekers. I just put it that way, right? But let's say you just hate your country, and so you want to move to Japan because Japan was like this wonderland that you saw on TV for many years, and you grew up jerking off to, whatever Japanese stuff you were watching, right? Or listening to. Now, I routinely run across people, especially from a certain European country, which I won't name, who hate their country, and they think that, for them, even every fart from a Japanese man is an orgasmic experience, right? They want to hump every tree and every lamppost in Japan because, oh my God, Japan is this beautiful wonderland. I can't believe I'm here. I want to live here forever. I want to kiss the ground and basically crawl, in a dogeza because I'm just so happy to be here, right? So there's people like that. Typically, they also hate immigrants. Other immigrants. They hate other foreigners. They are more likely to use the word gaijin than any Japanese I've ever known, right? Japanese people usually say gaikokujin, which means person from a foreign country. And I've only seen foreigners use the word gaijin, right? Even in private, right? Most Japanese people, by the way, will never use the word gaijin, even in private, right? Unless they really mean to use a derogatory type of word, right? But foreigners, yeah, they just, they love using, certain foreigners, not all of them, but certain foreigners love saying gaijin, whatever. And they don't mean it as a joke. They mean it as whatever, right? I don't like it. Ooh, somebody puked a lot of food, spaghetti out, after being drunk, probably. Okay. If that's your category and you happen to be watching this video, which you probably wouldn't because you're probably people in this category, they're usually some losers who are they have nothing going on in their life, and they're usually kind of racist. They're
watching,
whatever. And so you're probably not watching a video of an entrepreneur talking about entrepreneurship stuff, right? But if you are that 1% who are not like that, but you still hate your country, I would do a lot of soul searching into why you hate wherever you come from, and what do you really expect from Japan? What are you expecting here, right? If you're expecting that Japanese people will wait for you at the airport and hug you and thank you for coming here, and you'll be like, oh my God, I have Japan all to myself, and I can stay away from all the foreigners, I can stay away from all the immigrants in my country, and Japan is the last bastion, whatever, well, I have some news for you if that's your assumption. It's not going to happen, and you will probably be quite upset and quite alone in Japan, right? and you will be more lonely than back home. You will be more disregarded, than back home. And even if you find a Japanese, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, whatever, and you have kids and you make a family, whatever, you will not be truly accepted and integrated into Japanese society, because that's just how they work, right? It's really hard to make really close Japanese friends. In general, I mean, not impossible. You can have them, right? You can find Japanese people who will be really good friends with you. I'm not saying it not happen, but like the typical Japanese person on the street who doesn't speak English, whatever, they don't usually have an interest in. They're very foreigner shy. Let's just put it that way, right? Japan is a lonely place, and people tend to kill themselves over, such matters. So there's that. Now, and that applies to all foreigners again. It's hard to make friends in Japan, close friends, real Japanese friends. And so I highly suggest to everybody, prepare for that mentally, right? Decide on a hobby or two that you want to pursue in Japan. Okay, one huge caveat. I don't drink alcohol, so I don't show up to a bar and become a regular, and there I make pals like, oh yeah, how you doing, buddy? I don't go show up to a bar every Saturday or Thursday, whatever, and drink my ass off, and I just find that social circle there, okay? I also don't work in a Japanese company with Japanese people. I have my own business, of course, right? And so I don't have that social circle either. If you do, maybe it's different for you, but even then I've never heard of anybody actually being like, oh, I have so many Japanese friends, close friends, I'm like a Japanese person, I've never seen that happen. So, but it might be the case for you, right? Especially in Tokyo. And I've made another video about Tokyo versus, how I feel about Tokyo, basically. So you want to find some hobbies, you want to find a circle of foreigners, ideally, who you are close to, and who you can ask for help, who will support you, whatever, you meet up regularly. Volunteering is, I believe, a good, approach to that. There's not much volunteering in Japan because, they don't have too many problems, interestingly enough. But they do have certain things that they volunteer for, and although they're you could serve food for homeless people, or there's not that many homeless people either, but you could find a volunteering circle or a midnight running circle or something like that. I do judo, for example, right? And judo has been really good to me. So there's that. Oh, I'm at Korakuen finally. Korakuen station. One of my favorites. It's not a favorite as such because I just have to be here a lot. Hey. But yeah. So find foreigners. Another thing I would say is, what was I going to say? Foreigners are actually pretty cool people. Us foreigners, we're pretty cool people. Even in, foreigners tend to be more welcoming. We tend to be a little more chill. We tend to be a little less shy in terms of just talking to you, whatever, And we're also usually, a little bit on the lonelier side, in that if I can put it that way. So we won't, I mean, usually we're not like, oh my god, don't talk to me, like, oh, don't bother me, you know. We're more likely to have a conversation and make friends and get in touch, you know, and stay in touch. I've seen some people, for example, you know, I know a Korean guy who's been living in Japan for 17 years. I mean, this high school, college kid, basically, like, been in Japan 17 years, Korean guy. And he said that he doesn't feel accepted into Japanese society because he's Korean, and even though he's like pretty much Japanese, he finds himself more at ease with the foreigners in Japan than with the Japanese people. So I'll leave you with that thought. I hope I covered everything that I wanted to. I guess I covered everything. So that's the video. Bye.